Hey there, this is Eric. I'm back with a contest entry for Captain Handlebar and his 5 soundtrack contest. And I'm actually going to show 6 because I want to show something kind of as a sample. This is Hiding Out with John Cryer, and you're going to see a theme throughout this. But what I have done with this is I have taken my CD and I have put it in the case with the DVD. I actually think I have this on vinyl somewhere. I know I did once upon a time, and I've misplaced it. And I've actually misplaced another piece of vinyl that I really wish I could show you guys, but we'll get to that in a minute. So, 1980s, late 80s, adult hiding out in high school. It's 2/3 of a good movie. It got some interesting stuff. Like any high school movie of that era, at this point, it is an artifact showing the fashions and the lockers and the cars and the hairstyles and all that stuff. And the music. This has got a lot of late 80s new wavy pop. Probably the most well-known artist on here is there's a version of Crying featuring Katie Lang and Roy Orbison that's really great. Some of the other bands are like Boy George is on here, Pretty Poison, Scarlet and Black, all that jazz, Boy George. So, well, I think I just said. But at any rate, yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, 2/3 a good movie. Something that Mr. Cryer was doing a lot of at that point in time. But I personally keep some of these with the CD in the disc, the DVD, so that I can find them when I remember that they're there. Moving on, so my number 5, speaking of John Cryer, No Small Affair. That's him and Demi Moore. And if you've read Cryer's book, he has a comment in there about how when he worked with Ashton Kutcher, when he was married to Demi Moore, he always thought, wow, she went from me to him, because apparently they were romantically involved during the time of this film. This is one of his earliest films. It is a 80s teen romance that I quite enjoy, but it's got a great soundtrack. It's got Fiona, who does kind of a torch song rock thing. It's got Chrissy Faith. A lot of bands people aren't going to know. Malcolm McLaren and the McLarenettes. Malcolm McLaren was the manager of the Sex Pistols. The artists that people are going to know on here are Twisted Sister and Rupert Holmes. Rupert Holmes of Escape the Pina Colada song, which, by the way, I love his stuff. There's something dark and sarcastic, and I found out later on that he was a huge fan of mysteries, so that probably makes sense. But this is a great soundtrack. I found it years ago on a record trip to, I think I went to Cleveland or something. But anyways, No Small Affair. All right, I got 2 pieces of vinyl to show you. And the next one, this one is a personal favorite that I own 2 copies, and I'm showing my crappy dollar find copy promotional. This is Streets of Fire, a rock and roll fable. Jim Steinman of Meatloaf fame wrote a couple songs for here that I still love to this day, Going Nowhere Fast, and this tonight's what it means to be young. This has also got Maria McKee, The Blasters. It's got The Fix. It's got Ry Cooder. And most importantly, it's got Dan Hartman, I Can Dream About You, which is kind of a great 80s pop song. This is a great movie. Once again, I do have the DVD. The Blu-ray of this is coming out in May from Shout Factory. I've already got it in pre-order. This is one of my favorite weirdo 80s films. If you have not seen it, give it a shot. Cool stuff. All right. So, I am a product of Generation X. And I went to college in the fall of 1991. And I was 19 years old in 1991, 18, 19. And so, of course, singles hit me really hard right here, because this was a reality that I was seeing around me and I understood. And this was music that made sense for me and my generation at that moment in time. This is a great soundtrack. This is also coming out on vinyl shortly, finally getting a reissue on vinyl. At some point I will pick it up. But, this has got Wood by Alice in Chains, which is my favorite song by them, potentially. Paul Westerberg, Pearl Jam, Smashing Pumpkins, The Screaming Trees, Mother Love Bone. So much good stuff on here. I look forward to getting this on vinyl. And at some point I really should pick up the Blu-ray, because I actually do like this film, which once again becomes a snapshot of a time and place and technology. There's a whole bit in here about garage door openers that's kind of hokey now, but kind of makes us remember that that was a thing for a while. All right, that's 3. So I did not dig out my vinyl of this because I only have the picture disc and it's stored away. But one of the two films soundtracks that changed my life. Return of the Living Dead, the original, the punk rock soundtrack, the great. Once again, I got the soundtrack in here. Let's see here if I can count it down. The Cramps, The Damned, TSOL, Jet Black Berries, Rocky Erickson, The Flesh Eaters, SSQ. Did I miss anyone? Did I say The Damned? I probably said The Damned. Killer stuff. This is almost the perfect 1980s horror punk sampler. It's maybe missing the Misfits. The Tall Boys, that's the other one I missed. The Tall Boys, who were an offshoot of the Meteors, which were a psychobilly band, or the psychobilly band. If you don't know the Meteors and you like country music and you like psychobilly, like rockabilly, you should definitely track down some Meteor stuff, especially the early stuff with the original lineup, which the drummer and the bass player became the Tall Boys. Great stuff. Classic soundtrack. I don't think there's a dud track on here. Some of the tracks I have appreciated more over time. Some of them have grown on me. So if you've got this and you play it, pull it out, give it a spin. Let me just say this about the Tall Boys and Jet Black Berries. I love the Jet Black Berries. This changed my life. I became friends with those guys. I put out the record of their early band on CD. I've known them at this point for almost 20 years because of this soundtrack. When I was in college and things were not going well and I was not fitting in, this music spoke to me in a way that the then current crop of pop and third-rate alternative acts were not. So, Return of the Living Dead soundtrack. There's a Shout Factory Blu-ray out there, which I do have as well, and the Steelbook, and I upgraded to the Shout Factory Blu-ray because of the documentary about the film on there. There's also a mini documentary about the soundtrack on there that's expanded from the one that's on here. It's good, but it's not definitive because, once again, Jet Black Berries and the Tall Boys are almost completely left out, and they have an interesting story to tell. Anyway, Return of the Living Dead soundtrack. All right, number one soundtrack of all time. The other soundtrack that literally changed my life. And when I say changed my life, it's because these two soundtracks I found at a point in my life when things were not going well. The mainstream life that I was being pushed to have by family and community was not working out for me. I was not fitting in, and I just needed something that was going to tell me that, you know, the world isn't all just like this standard issue life that's being pushed on us. We're not all going to get the 9-to-5 job. We're not all going to get the house in suburbia. We're not all going to have a family, and that's not the worst thing in the world. And this is, dudes, this is not on DVD or Blu-ray. I hope someday it will be. I'm pretty sure it's the soundtrack that's holding it up. And I'm going to say, this is a guess, this is speculation. I bet you it's Perry Farrell, because this does include Jane's Addiction. So, soundtrack. I have it on vinyl somewhere. I seem to have misplaced the vinyl. This has got Jane's Addiction, Keel, The Leather Nun, Legal Weapon with my all-time favorite song, my theme song. It's called Time Forgot You. It's not on YouTube. Somebody has gone in to make a video yet. Maybe I will do that at some point. Megadeth, The Little Kings, Simon Steele and the Claw, Steve Vai, The Vandals, and Wasp. So this is punk and metal. This was something I found shortly after the film came out. Once again, John Cryer stars in it. And this was music that was not mainstream music that I really liked and I really dug. And that led me to both metal and punk and to cowpunk in a way, because there's definitely a Western theme going on. And some of the metal stuff has a Western theme to it. So a movie I really like, an album I really like, something that's really personal to me that has stuck with me all these years. I need to find my vinyl copy of this. It's around here somewhere, and I hope it comes out on Blu-ray. So those are my 5. Thank you for hosting the contest, and I look forward to seeing what everyone else has to say. Catch y'all later.